Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in our Azure AI series, and welcome to the Azure Nigeria community, where we talk about everything around Azure infrastructure, Azure AI, Azure security, and Azure DevOps, right? And today in our Azure AI series, we are looking at a topic that says create speech-enabled apps with Azure AI service. Create speech-enabled apps with Azure AI service. And today we have a special guest who is actually going to walk us through how to create this particular um, speech enabled apps with Azure AI service. The person we have today is actually Barry Awuri. So Barry Awuri is a cybersecurity leader, is a solution architect, he's also a business strategist, passionate about building secure, resilient, and future-ready digital environments. He has over 10 years of experience in the field. He has led the SOC team. He has architected multi-cloud and zero-trust solution. He has also guided organizations through complex security transformation. His work spans IDS, IPS, SIEM, SOAR, PAM, WAF, NGFW, and beyond. And is always aligned technology investment, with measurable business outcome. He's also deeply engaged in AI adoption. He has helped organizations to implement Microsoft Copilot and other AI-powered tools. The goal is to boost organization productivity, help them to improve decision making, as well as also embed security into AI-enabled workflows. He has advised on governance frameworks and also responsible AI integration, purpose to ensure that these innovations are secure, they are ethical, and they are also strategically aligned. As a cybersecurity portfolio lead for a top system integrator, he has helped secure enterprise and small, medium enterprise clients while driving a strategic partnership with partners with Cisco and so forth as a good partner as well as platinum partner. He has also expanded offerings from other security OEM. He's also equally at home with SOC as well in boardrooms or even in front line of client engagement, which is to help to translate technical capabilities into business value. And one thing that it believes is that security is not just a technical discipline, but a business enabler. So whether mentoring emerging cybersecurity talent or enabling the sales team or even advising executives, it focuses on solutions to protect today while enabling innovation for tomorrow. It's a pleasure to have you today, Barry. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to be learning from you today. Thank you so much, Barry.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, today's topic is create speech-enabled apps with Azure AI Service. What are your thoughts around this solution? How can it help organization to improve productivity in their business space?
Okay, so most of the time, we tend to have users tend to interact with AI agents or AI platforms most of the time through text, typing, and things like that. And again, you get to see that naturally for humans, we tend to speak more than we type, right? So if you are going to build an AI agent or you're going to build a solution that requires AI, then it's best you understand the way human interacts, and that is through speech, right? So you should be able to take input from speech from the user and whatever it is, whether it's for them for the speech to be able to carry out a function over the agent or whatever it is, your application or whatever it is that you are trying to use your the AI service for gets to interact with the end user comfortably using its own natural way of communication, right? And you'll be able to pass commands, you'll be able to pass prompts, you'll be able to execute functions, all from speech interactions as against having to always type at all the time. So that's what this is all about, how you can create such platforms or such solutions, such applications that can take in voice input from the end users, process it, and then be able to execute the right commands and the right prompts to the end user. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I'm looking forward to learning about this. Yeah, I'll be going backstage. You have the floor now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Just to share my screen a bit, um, just to run you all through just a little bit about what this is all about. All right. So before we go into the demo proper, I just want to do a bit of a rundown just to give you a bit of background on why this is required and what is actually foiling this, right? That we are doing. So Azure AI Speech Service, it's among the several AI tools or AI services that Azure has, right? So today we'll be looking at Azure Foundry, just to give a little background, and then the speech Azure Speech Service, and then the Azure Speech Service SDK, and then we'll just do a little demo to demonstrate this thing, to pass the knowledge, to create that level of sensitization that you don't need to always have to depend on just text input to be able to communicate your to your end customers with your application. So what is Azure AI Foundry? Basically, Azure AI Foundry is like it's a platform as a service, right? That gives you that robust infrastructure where you can begin to pick in, take different services into your application without you having to bother yourself about the underlying infrastructure. Now, with the age of AI, a lot of time, a lot of organizations are wanting to get something to do with AI one way or the other, but it always comes with a cost of infrastructure. So now Azure is telling you that instead of you having to spend your money building the full infrastructure on your own, why don't you leverage on the services that has already been built in Azure and just plug in the different APIs, and voila, here you are, applications is up and running, consuming AI, consuming resources from Azure without you having to bother about the underlying infrastructure. So that's what Azure Foundry is all about. Now, Azure Speech Services are among the many services that is available on Azure AI Foundry, right? So because of this demo that we are in, I just want to limit our conversation to just this, right? So that we don't go into too many. And again, we want to also run as much practicals as we can to demo it, and you get to follow along too, right? So we'll just focus on this. So what is the Azure Speech Service? So basically, the Azure Speech Service is among the many services that is available on Azure that can help take in speech to text. It can do speech to text transformation. It can do text to speech transformation, right? So you can do speech recognition in the sense that you speak to your application, right? Your users get to speak to your application, and then they get feedback from the system, as in terms of a text feedback will be given to them. Or probably it is a text that is issued, or a text prompt that is given to to the system, and then a speech is returned back to the end user. So for a typical example of what we are going to demo today is we're going to have speech returned back to the end user as against just the regular text that we see most people do. So Azure Speech Services could also carry out a speech translation. You can also do speech translation. So in a situation whereby probably your service involves video and then you want to do caption, right? Where immediately as people are speaking, the text is written below, speaking, either translating the language or probably giving the end users the opportunity to be reading the text even as the video is playing on the screen, right? So that kind of a thing, you can also get to leverage on Azure Speech Service to be able to deliver that kind of a service to your customer. So independent of the language that your customer is coming from, independent of the language that was spoken on the video, your Azure Speech Service is able to translate all languages into the language that the end user requires for him to be able to interact with your content properly. So it can also do speakers recognition, who is speaking on the text, who is speaking in a video, who is speaking in an audio. All those things can be aligned and be separated, synthesized on the Azure Speech service without you having to bother yourself about the underlying infrastructure, about the underlying model, whatever it is. All you just need is pull up the API, get the keys, connect it, plug it into your application, and then you are up and ready, consuming all these things and servicing your customers without you having to bother about the underlying infrastructure, right? So now Azure does all these things through what we call SDKs, right? We have SDKs in which you can use to interact with this. So whether you are coming from a Python background, or you're coming from a .NET background, or you're coming from a JavaScript, or whatever, or TypeScript even, right? All these can provide your end users the required um, um, uh, interaction, right? The required APIs that your end user needs to be able to communicate with the end, with the platform, communicate with the Azure platform, and at the same time provide the required service to your end users. So just to show you a bit on how now, independent of whichever SDK you're using, whether it is Python, whether it is JavaScript, whether it's .NET, this framework still applies to all of them. The workflow still applies. This workflow that I'm showing to you right now on the screen, it applies to all of them generally, right? But yes, there will be little tweaks and little manipulations here and there based on the workflow of that certain XDK. But at least the general concept remains this that we are saying, and you will also see it in the course of our demo. Right now, you will notice that in this demo, we have what we call a speech config. Now, the speech config, basically what it does is to encapsulate the session key, right? The key that you in the platform, you need to create a key, right, on the service, right? And that key, you need to integrate it with your application. Now, the speech config is housed on your application. It encapsulates the resource, location, and the key, right, that you have already configured on the Azure platform, right? So you can either do the speech config or you do an audio config if you have mic inputs and you want to do direct mic input to your application, if you have that, right? Now, that is encapsulated and then pushed to what we call the proxy client object, right, which is a speech recognizer, right? Now, that speech recognizer is more or less like a, a, a black box that is used in whatever input you take. It synthesizes and processes those keys or those instructions, those voice instructions that you're intending giving to the platform. It synthesizes it and pulls out those different APIs. It pulls those different functions, those different instructions that you want to execute at the background. It does that, and then whatever it is, whether it is the duration and processes it, and at the end of the day, it comes out as text to your end users. So this is for speech to text, right? Then you have the text to speech. Now, this time around, still the same speech config. It takes in the text, right? You text that you typed in, and then it encapsulates it and sends it also to a speech synthesizer and works on that and be able to produce the required output to you. So this is just the basic way in which this workflow is done, right? So you can see how easy it is for you to begin to consume these resources without necessarily having to do so much backend configuration, so much tweaking on your application, trying to do so many things. You don't. All you just need to do is focus on your application and let Azure manage the infrastructure that will produce these outputs for you. So that is just about the little summary on the many things, what it's all about. So let's go into the practical. Now, for the demo, we'll be using let me get my Azure platform. I don't know if you need to follow along, right? We can also get to drop the link for you. So it's quite simple. Azure has made it quite. Microsoft has made it quite simple for you to follow along or for you to learn all these things, right? So you don't need to go for special and intense class for you to be able to get yourself up and running as quickly as possible in all these things. So just to, if you need the link, it can be shared to you so that you can as well just follow along. So first thing first, before you can get to enjoy this that Azure has made possible, first thing is for you, you need to have an Azure subscription, right? So you get your Azure subscription. It is my own subscription that I'm going to use for this demo so that you all can also get to see how easy it is. And then I also have my application. I, I want to believe you can still see my screen. Good. All right. So I have my application here that is written in Python, right? The application is here. So what I now want to do, yes, I have my application. It's a speaking clock application, right? I want my users to be able to ask for the time, and then the clock will be able to speak back to them to say, oh, the time is such and such, right? The time is this, the time is that, not via text, but voice output, right? So I have the my Azure subscription. You too, you need to have your own Azure subscription, whether it's yours personally or for your business. But at least for those of you that are trying to get your hands dirty with all these things, probably your own personal subscription will suffice, right? So once you have your own subscription up and running, the next is for you to search for Azure AI Foundry, right? So Azure AI Foundry, or you can just type Foundry, right? If you click on Foundry at the search bar up here, it lists out all the various Azure services for which AI Foundry is just one of them, right? So instead of you going the route of having to select all and then searching so many things here, you can just come up here and then just type Foundry, and then you have it up there. Then you can click on it. Now, and another thing that's just another information, right? You can begin to you can subscribe for Azure without having to pay for it, right? You can subscribe and begin to test things around without necessarily having to pay for such services. So you only pay for what you consume. And again, for being a first-time user, Azure will give you, I think, about 200 credits, right, which you can use to play around with as much services as you want to until your 200 credits gets exhausted. Then outside that, so there are some services that are also free that you can leverage on and take advantage for to do whatever it is you want to do. So AI Foundry is so I've searched for it and I've brought it up. Outside the fact that you need AI Foundry, and remember we said AI Foundry is basically a platform as a service, right? So you now need to ask yourself, okay, what service do I need from AI Foundry? And the one that we are leveraging on today is the speech services, right? The speech service. So you click on more services, and as you click on more services, you see the speech service, right? Now, the speech service helps us see to leverage on this that we are trying to enjoy, right? Without having to bother ourselves about the underlying infrastructure. So if you want to go the route of building the infrastructure on your own, testing the models by yourself, to go that level or as granular as that, then probably you'll be looking at the Azure AI machine learning services. But we are not doing that, and we just want to consume the services without necessarily bothering ourselves about the background or the infrastructure that is running at the background. So clicking on AI Foundry, then you have the speech service. Then as you have the speech service comes on, you can click on this blue button here that says create speech service, right? If you click on it, you will notice that now this is just a basic configurations that we are looking at right here, right? So we are not doing anything fancy. We are not looking at the network. We are not doing so many other attached Azure services, just basic, right? To get ourselves up and running as quickly as possible. Just the basics, as earlier said. So you select your Azure subscription. So this is my own subscription, right? That is the subscription that is running on my account right now. And then you need to create a resource group. Resource group is just the grouping of your different Azure resources, right? So you can use the same resource group, but most of the time you tend to have different resource group from different functions and different activities that you want to carry out. So I have a speech demo resource group already created. You can also just click on create, just write in any name there that you are okay with, and just click OK, and the resource group is created already. So I have AI speech demo resource group already configured. So I just select that, and then in as I was creating my account, my region was East US, right? So I want to maintain that. You can select whichever one that is closest to you, but I think I'm okay with East US, right? Okay. Then name speaks to whatever name you want to use to remember or identify this service. So we can give it the name of speech clock, right? So because this might not be the only service that you have running here. So at least you can have multiple of all these running. So we want to name as speech clock, and then the pricing tier. Now this pricing tier now speaks to what you'll be billed. Now, because we are running a free account, all right, so free demo, we are just trying to practice, we are just trying to learn a bit about all this before we then advise our business to say, okay, fine, this is something that we can leverage on, or this is something that will be beneficial to the business or to the application or to the service that we are running, right? So if this is your first time of doing all this, you will see two options here. There is a free tier 0, F0, and then this standard S0. Now, because I had done this several times, the free tier is no longer on mine. You'll see this here, right? Just this blue line, right? It's because I have done this several times, so the free tier is no longer there. So it's just this only this option that is available to me right now. So I can select that. It's also free, right? So long I don't keep it running over an hour, right? So far I don't keep it running over an hour. It's still good. And more so, I'll also have my Azure $200 credit available that I can also get to use to enjoy this without bothering about my account, right? So with that being said, click create, and then we wait for Azure to do its thing. So right now it's creating all the necessary infrastructure that will be required to carry out this service for me, right? So it's checked all my configs to be sure that it's all okay. It's good. Now it's asking me to create. So now we can go ahead to create the necessary resources. So that is on right now. It's still working out. It's still working out. It won't take time. It doesn't take time. It's platform as a service, as we said, in less than 5 to 3 minutes, everything is up and ready to go. And that's what I tend to talk to people about when it comes to using cloud-based services, right? So it's almost as if you can do and undo as quickly as you can, and then revert as quickly as you can, simply because we have we have we have spent little or no money in setting this up right now. And so if we go the area of having to build this infrastructure yourself, it's then you know that there is no going back, right? Where you have bought, you have invested money, you have invested capital in ensuring that you build this infrastructure for your business, and then you then suddenly realize that one or two things are missing, or one or two things are not done properly, or probably the project itself, it's not something that is achievable, but you've already spent the money has already gone down the drain, right? So learning with these kind of platforms helps you to be able to do proper proof of concept, proper business case analysis, to be able to show to your business owners, show to your executives on the beauty of what you are trying to do without having to expel so much on capital. So, right, our resource is deployed, and then we can just go there, go to resource. So our speech clock is here. So this is basically what the whole thing is all about, right? It's already here. All the infrastructure needed to do speech analysis, speech to text, text to speech, everything is already staring at us. So the next thing is, what do we do? Now, remember, we said we have our application already built, right? You need to build your own application. You need to set up your own system. What do you want to achieve? So for us, ours is to create a speech club. So what do I need from here to be able to integrate this to my application that's sitting on my laptop or sitting in whatever cloud that I have my codes on? All I need from here for now is just to copy these keys. I need to remember we said our speech config requires two things. One is the key and another is the location. So I'm copying my key right now. I'm not going to show you that because this is my, and again, please try as much as possible also to keep your keys safe, right? So that's my key. I'll show you where we'll use it. But I can still get to show you my key. It doesn't matter. I will certainly end up destroying the whole thing at the end of the day though. So it doesn't matter. All right, but for you in production, please try and keep your key as safe as possible. Ensure it's safe, right? So we've gotten the keys, and then we've also copied the location. I have my location here, East US. Now that's, you are done with Azure. So now go to your application. Now going to your application, this is my own application, which is my speech clock. Everything I need is here, but I now need to integrate this with Azure, right? And it's not yet with Azure. It's just standing alone as a speech, as a clock, as just codes of its own. But how do I then integrate this into Azure? So that is where, if you follow the learning requirements from the slide. I don't know if, let me copy this and see if I can drop it on the charts for you guys. Oh no, I don't think I can do that. All right, but all the same, let me share my screen so that you see where I am, and then if you can pick up the URL, pick it up from there, and then try and follow along, right? So this is the, like a demo lab, right? Where you can pick up all these codes to be able to interact with it in a basic way. Then if it's something that you are then interested in, you can then further drill down working with the different XDKs, right? So this, for this lab, we will be working with the Azure Python XDK, right? So you need to first of all install this on your system, so that your application will be able to begin to recognize this in your codes, right? So let's just follow through. I'll be minimizing this so that I have a bigger screen to work with my codes. All right. So here's my code right now. So following this, we've already created our Azure platform. We've created we've copied the endpoints and then the key also. All that has been done. I have my codes here already. My code is here. So, and I have navigated to the. So, next is for you to carry out to install the requirements. So, I've copied the requirements. So these are, so if you check in my code repo, there is what they call a requirements.txt file. It's in here, right? So it's all these. I'm trying to install all these along with the Azure um, cognitive service, right? I'm trying to install what is there along with this, and just issuing this command gets to help me install all that is up there along with this speech recognition um, um, application from Python itself, or model from Python rather. So after that is installed, you then need to those keys, the key and the location that you copied. You then need to bring them into your environmental variable in your application. So if you, for example, mine will be in here, right? So this is the previous one I used. This is the previous key I used. So for this, if you edit that file, you'll get to see your own key where you can paste. So I'm going to paste mine, copy. So don't worry, I'm going to my key. Don't bother. You can look at it if you want to, but it won't do you any good. So it's better you create your own key and then follow along, right? So editing all this, doing away with all this because we now have a new key. We now have a new key. So this is my new key. My region is still East US. So in case if your own region is not East US, try as much as possible to edit it to fit where your own location is. So that's my environmental variable already configured. Setting my keys, setting my keys and my location. I don't want to hard code it into my application. And that is the reason why I had to use the environmental variable, because if you see it here, it's being referenced here and here. Now, if I had coded, just dropped the key inside here, for every time I get to change the key, I will always have to come here to change my code, which makes no sense, right? So these are just little, a lot of you understand that configurations, styles and practices, good practices and security conscious practices too, right? So when that is done, the next thing is to begin to make the different changes and configurations that helps my application to be able to communicate with the Azure services that we have configured, that we configured earlier on Azure. So the first thing is for me to import namespaces. So I copied that from the follow up guide that we have, and you just drop that in here. So right, so you can see this is speech SDK. It's calling speech SDK, which will need for what the speech services that we are trying to implement. So the next thing is for me to also bring in what they call the speech configuration service, right? So from the speech configuration service, just copy that. All these are ways in which under this, so here under line 23 is where my speech configuration should be. And then I copied that and I paste that in there. So now with this in here, remember we talked about this speech config file that carries the key and then our location, right? So it's being referenced here. That is what is encapsulating our key and location, that we tell Azure which service and which location this speech service is meant for, right? So with this, if we continue, so that is at least the first stage, another level of configurations that you need to do on your application so that your application can get good recognitions with integrate with Azure services properly. So from even from this, if the let me so if you want to go further, right, we need to then configure our speech recognition. So right now, the only thing that we've just done right now is to integrate your application with Azure. That is good. That is first level. So for now, even if we try to run the application, for example, if I say Python speaking clock.py, we'll see that, yeah, it's saying ready to use speech service, and it prints out our location, just like this is just the test that we see here, right? So we're testing to verify that, yes, we have connectivity with Azure, and certainly we have it for it to have printed out our East US location for us. So the next thing is for us to start configuring the speech service or speech recognition APIs too. So here, under here, you copy these codes and then drop this in here. Quite easy codes. That's why I always prefer Python, right? So don't mind me, I'm a bit biased on that. So all right. So to configure your speech recognition, all that you need is, yeah, your current directory, your audio file. If you have an audio file, then your audio config files and speech recognizer, right? So all these things are different APIs that, or yeah, or different ways in which you need to interact with the SDK that gives you opportunity to link up with to consume the services on Azure. Now, going on, now we want to process our speech, right? So we need to give it speech input. So this is the code for that. Let me tab it. This is the code for that. Just trying to work on the spaces, proper spaces. All right, I think I should just do this thing through. All right. So at this point, we've gotten our application connected to Azure, and then we've also set up speech recognition, right? So if we run this code again, we should be able to see our application now says is listening, right? So now it's listening and is expecting what the time is, right? And then more or less like we've already configured that in it somewhere, listening, and then it's imputing to us what the time is, and it's saying the time is such and such and such, right? So that at least tells us that the clock is actually getting the time, current time. If you check by my watch right now, my clock is saying 17:43. That's about and Azure is telling me the time actually is 17:42, right? Based on my time. If we run it again, I think it should come up with the right time this time around. Yeah, 17:43, 17:43. So this is based on my own local time, without me having to do daytime manipulation or whatever it is. It's speaking directly from Azure, telling me what is the time based on my location. So if you have an application like this, It does not need you to come in and then you are constantly having to tell what the time is. So at this point, we have at least gotten we are getting inputs and we're getting outputs from this. So right now, our speaking clock is actually getting inputs, right? Is getting a request of what the time is, a request of what the time is, and then is outputting to me what the time is. But it's not speaking yet, right? So we need to further go into a new function, and that is this tell time function. The tell time function is what gives our speaking clock the voice that it needs. So initially, we're having a transcribe command which gives us ability to interact with the speech service to demand for time. So the time is coming, right? And it's connected, but this time around it's not speaking yet. So we need to get it to speak. And how do we get it to speak? Is using these lines of code that uh, we need to bring in here. All right. So now we now have this are the codes in which we can use in making our speech clock to speak, right? We have the output file. So we're saying we want to output the file as a wave file, right? That's what this is all about. And then the language is a natural language model, natural English language. That is what we expect it to speak. If it's something else that you want, you can also get to specify what the language that you want, right? For us, I speak English, so I'm okay with English, right? So you can do whatever it is, whichever one that you want. So we pass in that output file into this command or this request, and then we are able to see this outputted to us in audio format. So still adding more codes to this. Now, this is the speech synthesis codes, right? But we still need to synthesize the output, right? That is to bring it out to us. It's not yet coming out to us, but it's being processed, right? So we can then give it these new lines of code to, all right. So now these new lines of codes now, it takes in different it takes in your speech speech text responses, right? And then the bottom it gets to print out what the output file is based on the fact that what it has processed this way, it gives it us back to us this way and tells us the exact time. So instead of it just appearing in text format, again comes to us as an audio file that we can then download and play back to our users. So now if let me delete this so that you guys can see that is the output file. Remember we said output.wave is the name of the output file that we are expecting to see. So after it gives us the file, you then need to now use your own player, whatever player that is incorporated to your application, to voice it out to your end users. So if we run this application again, so it's listening and it's asking what the time is, that is taking that in as an input, right? And then it's giving us what the time is. Though yes, it's printing it out to us on the console, but ideally what we want to hear is for it to speak back to us. And this is the audio file there. And if you play this
The
out
time
now,
is 17:48.
I don't know if you heard that. It told me that the time is 17:48.
The time is 17:48.
So if I decide to run this again, it has changed from, okay, it's still
The
1748.
time is 1748.
It's still, so that is the audio file that we need to be able to tell our customers or tell our end users what the time is without us having to prepare the background, the infrastructure, they pay for infrastructure, pay for several things that can help us achieve this thing as simple as this. So you can see that Azure Foundry with the Azure speech services has really made integrating speech to your application a whole lot easier, without you having to do so much for you to achieve all this in the splits of seconds. So you notice that the major thing that we just did was to just change just some few lines of code, impute some few lines of code into our already existing code, and with that we're able to connect to Azure, and then we're able to take in inputs from our own speech, from our own application, which is making a request to Azure on what the time is, and then it returned this to us in text, and at the same time returned it to us in an audio format, which we can play back to our end users to
The
say,
time is
this
1748.
is what the time is. So this is how we have created a speaking clock without having to do so much configurations at the back end. You can see now the time is
The time is 1750.
now the time is 1750. So this is just the simple application that we are working, that we've just demoed out to you to show you how you can build something like this, incorporate something like this into your own application. So this is where we'll call it. So we can even take this even further, right? To say probably we want to let me just share this with you to say, if you want to use mic inputs, for example, and you want it to speak over the speaker, right? Taking mic input and speak over the speaker, all that is required, the codes that you need to use to carry this out is already provided by Microsoft for you to easily plug and play all these things into your application, and then you begin to see the results without having to do so much hassle. And all these things have been tested. They are working very well, very fine, without you having to do a lot of manipulations or a lot of changes to your existing code. So once you know what you want to achieve, just go to Azure Foundry and search for the right service and get the SDK for those services, and then plug it into your application, and you have your AI enabled application as easy as that. So that will bring me to the end of this class. That will bring me to the end of this class. Yeah, Kristen, are there questions? Okay, so let me just go back to my slide. All right. Are there any questions? Hello, Christian. Oh, sorry, Emmanuel. Okay.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Barry. Yeah, can you run through the slide again for people to, because when you're presenting earlier, you were not presenting the slide
Oh, okay.
earlier.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So just to run through the slide again. So at least we've all seen the demo, and um, at least now putting text and pictures into that which we have seen. I think it will certainly make a lot of sense, right? So we talked about the Azure Speech Service, right? And we talked about, I showed you a bit about the Azure AI Foundry to be able what it's all about as a platform, as a service that gets to house a lot of all Azure AI services, right? So instead of you having to build this infrastructure on your own, run models on your own, do the trainings on your own, all these things has been done by Azure already at the background. All you just need to do is subscribe for the whatever service that you want, and then you plug in. So we talked about the Azure Speech Service, which um, entails speech to text conversion. It entails text to speech conversion, speech translation, speaker recognition, keyword recognition, intent recognitions. All these speech to text to speech transformations and the likes. Azure Speech Service has the ability to carry that out for you. So even if you have a video file, right, that you want to transcribe the audio or the audio into text, it can easily do that also for you. So we talked about the different XDKs that are available, but on this demo, we just focused on the Python XDK, and we saw it as simple as possible in the simplicity of it and how you can incorporate it into your application, and then you'll be able to speak to Azure and then um, have your application become AI enabled, as simple as that. Then we talked about the workflow on how this happens at the back end. We saw the speech config file. Remember, we saw this in our demo that houses the resource and the key, right? Which encapsulates it and transport this to the speech recognizer that sits in Azure, where all the different extrapolation of whatever it is, the command that you've given to the system gets put into different APIs that can then speak to the different blocks and different functions that is required on the Azure end of it. So this is for speech to text, and then text to speech is just a reverse of it all, and the same thing gets to come out. So it can give you output in text, that is for text to speech, or speech to text rather. Your output comes out as a text. Therefore, text to speech, your output comes out as a speech, right? And that is what we saw in our own demo just now, where we had a request for what the time is, and then the application was able to give us audio output as what the time would be at that specific time in audio format, as against um, having to receive the output as a text. So this is how humans communicate, and this is how Azure Speech Services has made it simple for us to be able to make our applications human, better, to be more human interactive, right? So that's what the demo is all about. So we had a demo, and that is all about the slides. So thank you, everyone. Emmanuel.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a question from Chibun Kem. It says, can I use this with API calls to integrate into an automation?
Yes, certainly. So now, if you if you're going into automation, right? So now, so it is, first of all, what your pipeline itself sits on your application. So your application is already in the pipeline. So what we are simply trying to do is bring in other codes that helps your application become more uh, uh, to be smart, right? So it does not affect your your pipeline. It doesn't affect your automation. You can, once you have it, the scripts already inbuilt, the code's already into your code. It's as easy as that. Once it's done once, you don't need to redo it. The only thing that you might need to change over time, probably if you're having so many of it, is most likely the key. Other than the key, you are good to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's the only question that we have. Please, participants, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat for our speaker today. Yeah, so I think that's the only question that we have for today. So if probably if they have more questions, they can drop as they watch the video. Okay, I think we have more questions. Okay, let me get the question.
Can I use Streamlight for the app and integrate Azure Foundry features? Yeah, if you want to use Streamlight for the app, right? So it all depends. It can, so long it can, it depends on the it can take AP you can integrate it with the API, right? So basically, it's just APIs. So long your Streamlight can understand the API, so whether it is through JavaScript or whatever it is that your Streamlight is built on, you should be able to integrate with Azure AI Foundry. Yeah. So it's just a matter of yeah, it's just a matter of you being able to your application or whatever application that you're having be able to interact on the API on the API level. So long you can do that, then you're good to go. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. I
Yeah.
think that will be all for today's session. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you so much, Barry, for this insightful session. It's actually very insightful. It's something that I also personally try out after this session to explore more capability. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you all in the next session. Thank you for joining,
Thank
and
you,
have a good one.
everyone.
Bye for now.
Yeah, bye.